recording.
Okay, so welcome to the special meeting of the Board of Commissioners. It's Wednesday, June 26th, 2024. And we're having, let's do roll call real quick. Do I have Commissioner Andrews?
Present.
Commissioner Burgess?
Here.
Commissioner Perez?
Sure. Yeah. I'm here.
Commissioner Manzel?
Present.
And Commissioner Trainer? Okay. Okay, we'll move on from there. So the item on the agenda today is resolution number 1596, adopting a fiscal year 2024-2025 budget for housing authority programs. And I don't know who's introducing this and going over the items that they now have.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start. So first of all, thank you all for coming to the special meeting on this. Like I had talked to you before, I was not real comfortable in moving the budget forward. We had some more work we needed to do in order to get that into a place that we felt comfortable. There is still, you'll see that there's not some of the requests in the budget that have been requested by staff on positions, because I want to do a little bit more work on that. And then we will come back and probably in maybe a 3-month period or something and revisit. And if we need to do a budget amendment, we'll go ahead and do a budget amendment at that time. But I will tell you that I am very comfortable with the position we're in currently. And as you know, Wendy Blaine is out on leave. So she worked on the budget and got it to a certain point in working with Sandy. And now Sandy is going to do the big budget presentation. So, and I'd like to thank Sandy. She's put a lot of work in and getting it, getting it to the position that it is now. And I think you'll be pleased to where it is. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sandy.
Thank you, Mary. Well, thanks to everybody around this table too.
Yeah, right.
Couldn't have done it alone. So I'm going to start off with what I call a fit analysis, and this comes off of the state auditor's website. This is available to the public, and it just actually, when I was talking to Mary when she asked me to come on, I went out here to see, well, how many housing authorities are there in the state of Washington, and what does that look like? So there's 38. So total revenues of 1.7 billion. Which is a lot of money. Currently, they have 43 completed audits, and that means there's several different types of audits, and 12 are in progress. So that just to get a general idea where things were at. So next page. So I pulled some information from this fit analysis and took a look at some entities. As well as EHA. So we looked at Pierce County, Seattle, King County, Snohomish County, Spokane, Tacoma, and Vancouver. And what the fit analysis does is takes a look at 4 factors: cash balance sufficiency, which is helpful to have a minimum of 60 days of cash available to cover 60 days of operating expenses. And most of all the authorities meet that plus some. And EHA has a good record on that. The enterprise fund cost is basically, are we charging enough and receiving enough revenues to cover our expenses? And of course, you want that to be at least 100% to cover your expenses. EHA is at 103.6%, which when we look at the others is about, maybe a little on the lower end of the average, but not too bad at all. At least you're covering it at above 100%. Then the debt load is where are we at with percent of revenues to make the debt payments on an annual basis? What percent is that? And currently EHA has 2%, which is pretty small. You see Tacoma and Vancouver are up above over 19%. So they're got a debt load, not meaning they can't meet their debt. It's just what that is compared to revenues, current revenues. Current ratio minimum is 1 is what's preferred. And what that means is that do you have your assets? Does that equal at least your outstanding debt? So if you had to, all of a sudden your debt was called, all of it, which we hope never happens, do you have enough assets to cover that debt? And currently, well, this is based on 2022, EHA had only 0.32. And talking with Cal, and thank you for that information, there was a short-term debt that kind of blew that out of the water in a sense, but that debt has now been refinanced for long-term. So we're looking to have that recalculated. It'll probably be above the one once they update that information. So I just thought it would give you a nice little comparison of what that looks like with some of the other entities. They're pretty close to the size of EHA. So yeah, next one.
I have
Oh,
a question.
yes, Kimberly?
Yeah, can I ask a question? When do they update that?
That is hard to say.
Okay.
They usually wait for all the audits to be completed so that all the information's there for all those 38 authorities.
Okay.
And this is just the raw data is where I used for the charts and percents. And then I did a percent of expenses to revenues as well as what percent of the types of expenditures are there. And yes, to give you just a general idea, where's the mix compared to the other authorities? So I'm going further on that. Okay. So jumping into the budget, we have some assumptions that we worked on to get us at least to some draft point. So we worked on that for COLA, we're looking at 3.7%. Medical, dental life, I guess that's called employee benefit contribution, is a 3% increase. Operating supplies and services, a 4% increase from our projected actual. Why we use projected actual is that sometimes that tells you a little bit more of what you're spending in the last year compared to if we just went off a budget. Utilities, we're looking at possibly a 5% increase. We just did that across the board. Hopefully that'll even out depending on when things come in. Property and liability insurance based on the invoice that we received for this coming year, it was a 15.4% increase.
Yeah, and that's a big increase, but we're seeing insurance increases across the board everywhere. I think I have seen them on my own personal insurance, so I think it's pretty what's going on just in the whole area right now.
Yes.
I think that state is even looking at like a task force to look at costs, particularly for housing providers on around insurance, because it's an issue, it's a what's right.
And vehicle insurance, we're estimating 10% increase from projected actuals. So looking at the budget, now this slide or this spreadsheet anyway was in your packet. And this is a summary of the budget. I'm sorry that it is small. Actually, I have to look at the printed because it's small for me. But we're looking at the groupings that, from what I understand in the past, this has been the groupings that we did our support groups, our federally funded programs, and our non-federal programs, and we look at a total. So when we look at that total for the budget, we're ending with a positive 328,000 and some. So we've the team worked pretty hard to make sure that we weren't in any deficits, and we were successful at that. And then the detail that you got in your packet is detailing each of those budgets that roll up into these sections. So I will not be going over the detail, but if there's any questions of those details, please reach out to us. But we will do a little bit further at the grouping. So this is the federal funded programs with the FSS grant, the mainstream emergency housing vouchers, mod rehab, and Section 8. And again, we made sure that they were all in a positive. Some were just barely, but that from what I understand, the housing that you run pretty close. I'm sorry. Let me stop and ask if there's any questions at this point.
No.
Okay,
None from me.
Thank you. Okay. The non-federal programs are what are called affordable properties, are Pacific Square, Lakeview Terrace, Royal Oaks, Pepperwood, Evergreen Cottages, Huntington Park, and then of course we total that again. Some of them were a little bit better cash flow at the end than others, but they were all in a positive or at least balanced to equal current revenues to current expenses. This is the non-federal program is nonprofits, Evergreen Court, Evergreen Village, Hawkins House, Lakewood's One, Lindcrest, Meadow Park, Scribner Point, thank you. Silverview, Village East, and I think there's been the total. And I think to Kimberly and her team, they put together these budgets, which we appreciate. And most of them come out with a cash flow of about 1,000 because that's at least a minimum requirement. And the others that aren't didn't have that requirement, if I understand that correctly. Is that right, Val? Yes.
Yes. Well, I also think it's important to note for these and others that are showing zero, while the cash flow for the individual entity may show zero at the bottom line, we have certain mechanisms built into the structure of these that allow for us to pull that cash flow via a fee ahead of time. You won't see it broken out here, but it is typically called an incentive management fee, a GP management fee. And that's a mechanism for us to be able to expense on the property side and recognize revenue on the EHA side. But it will often look like the property is not performing that well. Like for instance, Evergreen Village is taking, I believe, a $37,000 incentive management fee that goes straight to EHA. And then EHA still gets that original or that $1,000 in cash flow as well. And so I think bear that in mind as we look at this. Oftentimes we're actually receiving much more cash than what is noted down there as cash flow through fees.
Yes, and I think that detail is actually in the packet on the individual budgets. Yeah. So of course, the part of the biggest part of the budgets is payroll and benefits. So I want to make sure you understood where our position counts were and how that changed from 2024 to 2025. We're at a total of 135.75, and these are FTEs, full-time equivalent. Now the head count is a little different because that's actually each physical body. But we budget to an FTE is what we do. So there was a change of positive 10.5 to get us to 146.25 for the budget we're looking at, hopefully approving tonight. Did you want to add anything there?
No, I think,
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory.
And this total does include the current vacancies that we're running, and we're running somewhere around 17 or 19. On the average, it looks like the last 3 years we've run a vacancy of about 15 positions for each year.
And I will add to that, there was a lot of positions that were vacant when I came on. We have done a lot of hiring. You'll see a lot of new faces around, so we are starting to fill those positions and get staffed up. I will tell you that hiring is a challenge. And it's been interesting to me. It's much different than when I was working before. It's just a new ballgame hiring people. It's been interesting working with HR. People sometimes don't show up for interviews. It's fascinating to me, but that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. But then actually HR has done a great job getting folks hired, working with the different departments, and then also onboarding them when they get here. So kudos to them.
Did we lose, excuse me, or have we lost? Excuse me, that many people over the last year or so?
There's been some, yeah, there has been some transition in the last year. There's been some transition in finance. Help me out.
Chris retired.
Yeah, Chris retired. Yeah, there's been some turnover.
Just for my own sake, give me a number.
How many people have we,
So Linda Boston is on the phone if you have that number.
How many people we've lost like in the last year? By any chance, just a ballpark?
Don't have a ballpark. I could have to go into Paylocity and look, so I'll go look there. Then
Okay,
I'll come
good,
back
thank
with,
you.
who asked the question? Was that Commissioner Perez?
Yeah.
I'll come back with the answer.
Thank you.
So this is the detail of those positions, by title. And it gives you an idea of, what kind of positions that, make up the authority and get all the work done. It's a little small, I understand that. But there's a lot, so we're working on, well, we have the compensation study too, that may change some of these things, but currently this is what we're budgeting the 24-25 off of based on these positions.
Sandy, do you have a slide that shows the positions that are vacant currently?
No, I do.
Okay, so if you go back to that slide, so there's several positions in here that are vacant. So for instance, like my position, the executive director is vacant. The deputy executive director is vacant. The DEI director is vacant. So there's several positions in here that are vacant. And so, while they're listed here, they are still vacant positions that we need to fill. And so what we looked at was, okay, even like, for instance, when I exit, there's money there to fill that position. And so, just to point that out to you. There's also director of HCB that I added this year. There's only a couple of additional positions that I added because that desperately needed. The director of HCB is one of those positions. I believe there was a customer service rep position, but they are extremely limited. Anything that's added, I believe that those might be the only two.
Inspector.
Oh, the inspector.
And then the record
And then the
specialist.
record specialist, so there was a few that have been added that weren't in the last budget, but they're minimal. There was a request for several additional positions, there was, I believe, 4 requests for maintenance positions, there was some additional requests, I know the maintenance comes to mind, but I think there was some housing specialists,
Yeah, so we did make a request for some additional housing management specialist ones and twos.
and two, so that's the list that I have not moved forward. That does not mean that those positions are not needed. What that means is they are held in abeyance, basically, we will go through it as I'm more comfortable that I can vet those and that they're actually needed, and then we'll move them forward to the board.
Mary, Commissioner Andrews is her hand raised.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Andrews?
Yes, so looking at this, it makes me think that all of these FTEs are current, but could you give us a document that has like the current FTEs and not? So, because I'd love to look at this to see what's missing.
Yes, we actually do have that document, so we'll make sure you have that.
Great, thank you.
Monday's meeting?
Yeah, we can get that to you by next Monday's meeting. We can get that up to you. We'll just email that out to you. But we can talk about it Monday too.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And the answer for Commissioner Perez, we've had from July of last year, 23, through June right now to date, we've had a 24.9% turnover.
Yeah,
I can't hear.
that's just significant, no?
It's a significant number. That's some of the things that we're looking at as we go forward with the compensation study. Because I think there currently, I believe I've mentioned this before, there isn't a salary schedule. We're looking at moving towards a salary schedule that I think will attract more people into the organization. We're also looking at doing benefits through the Public Employee Benefit Trust. which I believe will actually help attract people. So there's several things that we are doing currently that have not been approved, but we're looking at in order to attract and retain people. I really think that how, the lack of a salary schedule and how salaries are set have caused people to leave. So we'll work through that. And we are currently working through it.
May I add something
Yes.
for clarity? The percentage that Linda just stated isn't unique to this year. This is a problem that began during COVID. And I believe in Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in 2020 and 2021, we were closer to 30% turnover. And so it has actually slowed down. It's not great, but I just want to clarify for the group that it's not unique to this fiscal year. It's been it was a problem that started during COVID, and we've never quite been able to wriggle it in.
And I would also say it's not unique to this organization either. When I talk to folks in the industry and like municipal government, county government, as I've been kind of wandering around at different meetings and talking to people, everyone's having the same issue. That's what I find fascinating. Yeah.
Actually, sorry, July 20 through June 21, the turnover rate was only 19.8%. So yeah, it has increased. So while I'm here, do you guys want any more data while I'm in Paylocity?
I think we're good, Linda.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
So this budget includes the EHA core operations voucher program, the wholly owned properties, tax credit properties, and they are on a calendar year. EHA operates on a July 1 to June 30 fiscal year, which I think you're probably aware of, but just to put that back out there instead of kind of what budget we're working in the time frame. Again, some other key assumptions. EHA has the authority to administer 3,759 housing choice vouchers and participation in the moving to work demonstration, which allows for the additional flexibility and use of certain federal funds. And the compensation study is underway that may require a mid-year budget adjustment, as Mary mentioned earlier. So that's my presentation, and I'll stop for any questions, but our budget adoption deadline is June 30th. We need something in place by July 1st.
Hence why we're here.
Yeah.
Any further questions from any of the
None,
commissioners?
no, none here. It's been
None
very-
from me.
Okay. Well, with that, do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 1596?
Motion to adopt.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, sounds like the motion passes. So the last thing on the list is to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion for that?
I have a couple of things I'd like to mention. First of all, I would like to thank everyone that participated in this budget process, and it was everyone. But I'd particularly like to thank Kimberly, who spent a lot of time working on this budget in a very tight time frame. So she's done a stellar job. I really appreciate it, and as well as everybody else. And Sandy and Wendy, everyone has done a fantastic job. And I think the team itself has done a good job reviewing that prior to presenting it to you. I felt really strongly that that needed to be viewed by the team before it got to the commissioners for approval. And last but not least, we are before the Everett City Council tonight and a public hearing for the Park District project. So if you're inclined to spend some time with me tonight at Everett City Council, you are more than welcome. And the meeting begins at 6:30. And that's it.
Well, thank you very much. And Kim, thank you so much. And Sandy as well. Really appreciate it. And over the last couple of weeks, getting more information about it and kind of seeing where we are headed. Really appreciate all the conversations. Thank you.
Thanks for everybody's work. We appreciate it.
I
Indeed.
concur. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Yeah,
bye.
See you on Monday.
yeah, see you again.